G'day, hi, and welcome. All right, so maybe clear some stuff here. Yeah. All right, so I got my skateboard wheels rotated. Kind of like the way you'd rotate the wheels on your car. I'm going to show you something for the bearings, how I'm doing the bearings. And so first off, I've tightened all my bearings down, but how tight? Okay, so this one, see, no play, no side play. No side play? Wait. Oh. No side play? This one has got side play. Now I'm going to make it really dramatic so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So I'll bring it right here. So we see here there's no side play back and forth on this. But on this one, can you hear that? I'm just going to loosen it off just a little bit more so you can hear it more. So, you hearing that? That's not good. You don't want that. So, what do? You tighten it all the way in to the bearing? Kind of yes, kind of no. The bearing's got ball bearings in it, and it sits in a track, in a groove, right? And when the wheel goes around, the ball bearings stay in the track. Now, if you take that nut on the side, and you over-tighten it, you will compress the bearings off center, meaning they're not sitting right in the track, and you'll wear out your bearings. You have more friction than you need. So what you want to do is bring your nut not just to the wall of the bearing. You don't want to compress it. You don't want it loose so that it's slapping against that, and under load it'll be slapping back and forth. What you want is that it dampens it so that it can't move in, it can't move out, and everything stays in line. Now, what I've done is I rotated the wheel. So this wheel used to be over here, this wheel used to be here, this wheel used to be here, and vice versa, right? Because the bearings wear out at a different rate. Now, I've got over 220 kilometers on this board itself on the same bearings. These are the ABEC 5 bearings. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tighten it in. Okay, you don't have to do it too fast, right there. So I still got a little bit of play. What I'm looking for, a little bit of play. Almost no play, but a little, just, I'm only moving it maybe about a 1/16 of an inch at a time. Slow, but precise. There we go. So there's no play there. So that's what I want. But it's not, if I just back it off a bit now, I should get just a little bit of play. See? And see, because it doesn't take much to compress the bearing. So what I do is I go till it touches the bearing, then I back it out until I get play, and then I just bring it in just a little bit. There. See, now I got play. So I'll move it back. Now I don't have play. And basically I'm just moving back and forth on the shaft to see if there's any bearing play. So that's about as... So I got the nut now is touching the bearing wall, but it's not compressing the bearing wall and offsetting the bearings. Now, I'll take it out on a run, bring this with you, and check it again, because you might find that maybe you do need to put a bit of pressure on the wall. Maybe you don't, maybe you do, depending on your bearings, how worn out they are or whatever. But everything's nice and free. And that means there's no load on the wall. The bearings are in line and they're going very well. Now, just because it free spools for a long time or whatever, that doesn't necessarily mean your bearings are good. From what I was told by the skateboard gurus, is that it could also mean that your bearings aren't that good at all. It's under load when you're standing on your board, that those bearings are in line, they're clean. So these bearings are pretty clean because I just cleaned them. But when it's under load, okay, the bearing is going to be sitting and doing its job. And it's that friction while it's under load that makes the bearing good or bad. If there's too much friction, the bearing's not going to be efficient. If it's not going to be efficient, it's going to heat up. And when it heats up, it could go kapow on you. Mind you, that's usually more the downhill boarder guys that have that problem. So keep your bearings well lubed. You don't have to overdo it, but if you feel grittiness in the bearing at all, clean it out. They'll last longer. So I clean my bearings about every 50 runs. I re-oil if it's dry out. If I'm going through dusty areas and I feel grit in the bearing, I re-oil it. Take that time. You don't always have to take the bearings off to do this, but at least a drop. But if you after a couple of drops and you still feel bearings in there, for the 10 minutes it's going to take you to pull the wheel off, clean the bearings, put it back on. It could save you a lot of money in the long run, not having to change bearings. But more importantly, from a safety point of view, you don't want a bearing failing on you while you're on the board. It doesn't matter if you're going 2 miles an hour or 20 miles an hour. It's always catastrophic when a bearing fails, especially for the rider. That type of thing. So that's how I'm doing it. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way to do it. So feeling it for play, there's just still a little bit of play in there. Mind you, this is the most worn out bearing on the board. So that's not too bad. I'll just check it again. That's why you got to take it for a test run, because there, perfect. After the test run, it'll resettle the bearings and stuff like that. And you're probably going to have to retighten just a little bit after. But just take it for a couple of 100 feet or whatever. Get off it, feel it, put the board upside down, see if there's any play in the bearings, and just a little bit of a turn at a time, like this. That's all you're doing. So once it touches the bearing wall, you're just going so that there's no side-to-side play against the bearing wall. Now, maybe there's play inside the bearing because the bearings might be wearing out, so it is what it is. But the idea is that you're not compressing the ball bearings to be offline, and that'll eventually, have catastrophic failure at some point. So anyway, hopefully that little tip helps. That's the way I'm doing it. If you guys got better suggestions, by all means. But yeah, rotate your bearings rotate your wheels every now and then. I don't know, maybe every 100 runs I'll do a bearing rotate. I count my runs because it's what I do. I want to see how much mileage I can actually rack up on the original bearings. I think it's one of those things, if you take care of it. This board has never been out in the rain. It may have gotten caught in a drizzle once. That type of thing. So if you're out in the rain, you're going through water puddles, you're going through dusty, gritty areas, it's going to wear out your bearings faster. But for me, it's not that I baby them. I mean, I'm not a kid, so I'm a little bit heavy for the board. But the bearings seem to be holding up fairly well. They're ABEC 5s. That's a pretty durable bearing. It's pretty, it's about in the middle of the road of a bearing as you can get, I guess. ABEC 1s barely roll. ABEC 3s are pretty slow. ABEC 5s seem to be nice. ABEC 7s are really nice, but they might wear it a little faster. They're a slightly higher performance. And then you got your ceramics, and I've got those Bronson Speedcos, which whenever these bearings go, I've got those to replace it. So I already bought spare bearings for this board. This board I bought in about 2 years ago. 3 years ago. Oh, geez, I can't believe I had it that long. About 2014, I think, was when I bought this board. So, yeah, if you take care of it, it'll last a long time. Get yourself a skateboard wrench. It's only about $12 to $15 or whatever they are. Worth their weight in gold. I'm going to get the board back inside, but in case it starts raining or something. But yeah, there we go. So that's how I'm doing it. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the best way to do it. It's just it's the way I'm doing it, and that's why I'm doing it that way, is to keep the bearings in line. All right, there we go. Have a great day, eh?